Welcome back to another episode of JK Philly. Today we're doing something a little bit new, something to freshen up the channel. Wanted to dive back into talking a little bit about the Sixers. So today we're gonna go over our top five starters, post tanking for the Sixers, our top five bench guys, and then we just made it a little bit interesting. I don't know if you still have your honorable mentions, Kev, but we'll either do two honorable mentions. I personally just wanted to spice it up, and I got two of my most hated Sixers that I've watched. How about you jump into your starters first? Because I think we should really have the same starting five, to be honest.
Got the stab boots on my back. I could load up and attack on anybody. Grab the gat, grab the mask. I think my aura going black and I don't plan on turning back. What's the point of doing that when you got people that's around?
All right. Guards, I had to go Maxey.
Mm-hmm.
Took a while. I debated him and Harden, but him being a homegrown talent drafted by the Sixers has already been here twice as long as Harden was.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Max. And then JJ, easily the best traditional shooting guard we've had post-tank era.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even really close. I know he's old now. Part of me still wishes we still had JJ. Butler, it ended ugly, but in a long line of failed forwards we've shuffled in through the process, Butler was obviously the best. He had big shots for us in the playoffs. He had big shots for us in the regular season. And if not for some front office malpractice, he'd still probably be a 76er to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I blame the Sixers way more for the Butler divorce than I do Butler. And then the one I didn't want to make but did, I had to give Tobias Harris a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we have a bad history post-tank of guys that come here and it just ends ugly. I had my problems with Harris come playoff time, but I have my problem with a lot of Sixers come playoff time. At the end of the day, he was an 18 points per game guy for a couple years, and then when it dropped down, it was 15. And there were years we asked him to be the third option. There were years we asked him to be the fourth option. And then when stuff started to fall apart, we were like, hey, can you be the second option? And he was like, yeah, I'm not really that anymore.
Right.
But he did put his time in. It was an ugly divorce again, but Harris was a good player for us post-tank.
Mm-hmm.
And center is obviously a Dembona, but Joel Embiid, the obvious choice for center. One of the greatest players ever to put on a Sixers uniform. Injuries aside, the talent is just off the charts. And like you said, the starters were easy.
How about we move into the bench players now?
Yeah, and bench was, there was a little more options due to the, it's just part of being in the NBA. Your bench is going to revolve year to year. But with that being said, some of these guys spent time on the bench, spent time in the starting lineup. Like one of my forwards, I have a guy like Covington. Covington started plenty of games for the Sixers, but he also spent some time coming off the bench. Robert Covington was a fan favorite while he was here. I liked Covington. He always got the label of a 3-and-D guy. That might have been a little bit of a stretch. He was a decent perimeter defender, and he was a good 3-point shooter. He wasn't anything special. He'd sit around 36, 37%, where you need guys on your team that shoot that from three, but calling him a 3-and-D like he excels at both was a little much for him. But I did enjoy him while he was here. The other forward I actually have three forwards because I didn't even bother putting another center on here. Ersan Ilyasova. Ilyasova wasn't the flashiest bench player in the world, but when it comes to a traditional forward that we had coming off the bench, I liked Ersan. He could step out, hit a three. He was big enough to get into the paint. He was never going to do anything incredible from the post, but he was big enough to get you a bucket down low. He'd grab a few boards. I think he looks a lot better if he's the second or third dude off the bench to spell a big man. When he was here with the Sixers, he was one of the only people with a pulse you could bring off the bench. Our bench was just atrocious at the time. My last forward is Kelly. Oubre's been very good since we got him. I've been very surprised with Kelly Oubre. I was very down on him when the Sixers got him because I looked at a guy who had pretty much been on bad teams his entire career. He always showed little flat. He was one of them dudes that you're like, okay, this guy's athletic. And, he shows flashes of Jesus. There's a ball player in here. But can he consistently do that for a team with expectations? And I was wrong. Kelly Oubre's been one of our best bench players and starters when we need him to be the last few years. And the only time I feel we're down on Oubre is when we get to a point where we're asking too much out of him. Like in that Knicks series, we were asking Kelly Oubre. Like, this is Kelly Oubre we're talking about, and we're asking him to, put an offensive load on his back that is just, we can't ask that out of him. Guards, I went with Danny Green. I liked Danny Green when he was here. He was older, but he was still a decent defender and a good three-point shooter. And I also put Bellinelli on there. We only had Bellinelli for a season, but one of my favorite guys to come off the bench. It was great having him come in for JJ. It felt like when he came in for JJ, you really weren't losing anything from the three-point range. One-trick pony. Bellinelli was not defending a lick. He had no interest in getting anywhere near the paint, but the man could shoot the three ball, and I love a dude off the bench who can knock down a three ball. So that was my bench.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of them. Going over my bench, I started with TJ McConnell. I really liked TJ McConnell. He, even with the Pacers, what he was doing this year in the finals is kind of what I felt like he was doing a couple years ago when he was with us. Obviously not to the degree of like he's winning us games or he's like coming off the bench scoring 15 points a game or anything like that, but it's just like the energy that I like, the energy that he came off with the bench and the team morale that he had around him. And saying that as well, also on my bench, I put Pat Bev. Obviously, we had a lot of conversations throughout the season when we did have Pat Bev. I just took a liking to him. I like a guy that likes to talk his ish. I like a guy that brings that energy and wants to be like, a contributing factor to the team. When he was on the team, I was listening more to his podcast, and he would talk about Joel Embiid and Maxey, taking Maxey specifically under his wing and just trying to show him things on the defensive side, how to be a better player, of course, and also trying to light a fire under Embiid's ass when, they would say that he was being lazy or, whatever the case was, of just like lifting that up. Those 2 months in the beginning of whatever season that was when Pat Bev was here was like really good 2 months for me. I don't know why. I just enjoyed the basketball. I just enjoyed the basketball team, man. It was just fun to watch. Outside of that, to your more boring regular players that were just solid coming off the bench. I think Seth Curry started a lot of games, so maybe I shouldn't have him on my bench. But for the sake of this, maybe put Oubre then in spot of Seth Curry. But if he was off the bench sometimes, then I'll put him on. He was just consistent. Just another guy that you could come off and depend on and hit you a few shots and play, I guess, okay defense. Shake Milton was another guy that I put on my bench as well. He was just a young guy. He's like, obviously, if you're deep into the Sixers realm of, you loving the team, you obviously know your G League guys, your two-way guys, the guys that you draft late. Shake Milton was just one of those guys that he was with us for a while, and, we got probably the most that you could get out of him. He had a couple of bright spots, but other than that, that was really Shake Milton. But I just liked it. That's when I started to really get in and dive into the Sixers world. Just some G League guys that we get throughout the time of just like, it's nice to see them and it's nice to root for them when you get them. So Shake Milton was one of those first guys. And then the last guy I got on my bench is Mike Scott. Mike Scott was always just funny to me watching him play. Obviously, I felt like he was a good player coming off the bench. It was just like his persona was funny to me. His emoji tattoos were always funny to me. He was just a funny guy, to be honest. Obviously, they had it was a long time ago when Mike Scott, I think, went to the Eagles game, and he was a Commanders fan, and he got in a fight with one of the Eagles fans outside of the arena. That was always funny to me. So Mike Scott is just a funny guy, but I just wanted to throw him on my bench. Let's move into the last bit that we got. We got our top 2 hated players. I will let you go first on those.
All right. And disclaimer before most hated, I don't hate either of these guys personally.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted both of them to be good players in Sixers uniforms for a long time, but both of them did 2 specific reasons they really frustrated me when they were on the Sixers. First off is Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle is a defensive savant. He does things defensively you can't teach. He blocks a lot of shots for a dude his size. He gets a lot of steals, and not only does he get poke steals, he does something that not a lot of guys do well, especially not anymore. He reads passing lanes. He constantly jumped in the middle of passes because he knew where they were going on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Loved watching him defensively. The man could not shoot the ball. I needed one thing out of Matisse Thybulle.
Mm-hmm.
Hit wide open threes. That's all I needed. I don't
one.
need you to I don't need you to go to the free throw line. You just needed. I don't need you to pick and roll, pop behind the pick and shoot the three. You're wide open in the corner, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Hit the three. And his threes were ugly. It wasn't like, man, you falling soon. His threes were like, it came at his hand. You were like, oh my God.
I know.
Like, start jogging down the court.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, he was so good. I had such high expectations for him. I pictured him as a guy coming off the bench for years when you needed defensive stops and like a dude who just hit his threes. He was so bad at hitting the threes. By the time the Sixers got rid of him, I was so happy he was leaving.
Yeah.
And my second most hated, and again, nothing personal. He seems like a great guy. I'd love to get a beer with TJ McConnell, but I could not stand him specifically when the playoffs came around. He was fun to watch in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come in. I remember the buzzer beater he hit where he jumped in the sky and did the fist pump, and Embiid used it as his profile picture for 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He was fun. Playoff time would come around. Teams would go, where the f*** is TJ McConnell on the court?
Mm-hmm.
Get him in this pick and roll action. Get him switched on to you. Attack TJ McConnell. He was such a liability. And I'm just thinking now, maybe it wasn't all TJ's fault. It was more the fans that thought TJ was this missing piece and just needed to play 30 minutes a game. And he would be this, this great point guard who would just lead us to great things. That was never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't TJ's fault. But the way there was a split with the fan base where some people were like me. They were like, do you not see him being attacked on defense every possession?
Yeah.
And other fans, well, did you see those 6 straight points he scored?
Uh-huh.
The guy back, yeah. So those are my 2 most hated. Again, nothing personal,
Mm-hmm.
either of them guys. But the expectations I had for them were high, and I was disappointed by the end of their tenures with the Sixers.
Well, on the flip side, I would like to take these personal. PJ Tucker and Danny Green, I got real issues with.
PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker is like almost damn near as bad as us signing Paul George, and wasting the amount of money that we are on Paul George is almost similar to the money that we wasted on PJ Tucker. Did absolutely nothing. Any single time that we had a game, they dreaded, and we had him start every single game that he could play, and consistently 0 points, 2 rebounds, no assist, missed every 3-pointer in the corner. I think he had that one game. I think it was when we had Harden. It was either the Brooklyn series or it was the Celtics series, and he had that one hot game where he scored
I'll tell you exactly what it was. It wasn't even a hot game. It was the only reason PJ is because it was Game 7 against the Celtics, and he came out in that first quarter. And if he didn't hit those 4 or 5 threes in that first quarter, we'd have been down 20 points after one quarter. So that's the only reason he asked for me. He kept us in that game that we ended up getting blown out anyway, but he kept us in it longer than we should have.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he did. But then you can, besides that, you can also pair that with James Harden when he scored 45 points against the Celtics and then scored 8 in that second game or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So overall, that sucked. I don't like PJ Tucker. He needs to retire. I don't know what the Knicks were thinking of. Why would they even think about bringing him on? I don't know if he's still trying to get picked up. I know he got waived, but he should retire at this point. You had a good series in Houston when you were with James Harden when you were younger, and maybe a little bit of time with the Bucks. I guess you were okay. With the Sixers is where it all went wrong.
Yeah, I was mad when we signed him.
Yeah, no. Danny Green was the same way. It was just he was just not productive. The only thing that you ever had to say about Danny Green is oh, he's a knockdown 3-point shooter. His name's the Green Sniper or whatever the hell his name is, and he just didn't score. He didn't shoot the ball well any of the time that we had him. I can't remember one specific game where I'm man, Danny Green's on fire tonight. He hit three pointers. I'm like, man, I think the most he hit in the game was probably 2. But yeah, I don't like Danny Green. I hated how much we talked about him. I'm like, man, well, Ben Simmons is here and B is going to make us, a better team. And then we also got Danny Green. I'm like, Danny Green is not in the same conversation as Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Like, why are we talking about him like he's going to elevate our team? And you saw that when he went to the Lakers, and then when he went to the Lakers that next year, then all the Lakers fans hated him. It's like, we're not crazy. We saw what this happened for the past year and a half or whatever, how long he was with us. But I'm glad we don't have Danny Green.
I thought that first year we got Danny Green, he was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't really see it or like it or enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, once he had that major injury at that old age, it was over. I was surprised he still came back and tried to play basketball.
I know. And with us, like, we actually cared about bringing him back. I mean, that's all I really have. I think that was majority of what we got going on. Obviously, we'll see with this year coming up if a Jared McCain and VJ Edgecombe and a Dem Bona, obviously Ricky Council's not with us anymore, but even a Justin Edwards, if those guys in the next couple of years can work their way into coming into our bench guys that we love to watch. But we'll see what happens with them. Thank you guys for watching another episode of JK Philly. Make sure you stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.